I've got some really sad news for the Stop Brexit man. Let's begin. Now I'm sure at some point over the last few years, whether you've either been walking through London or maybe actually trying to watch an interview on TV from the streets of London, you might have been disturbed by a man shouting, "Stop Brexit!" which he seemed to do nearly every day. And you know, don't get me wrong, everyone is entitled to protest, and I respect his right to do so, just as long as it's a peaceful protest, because, you know, certain protests have been known to, shall we say, get a little bit out of hand, especially a few years ago, which involved a lot of people taking the knee. Since then, a new law has been passed which thankfully bans loud protests, although obviously peaceful ones are still okay. And unfortunately for Steve Bray, the Stop Brexit man himself, it looks like he is one of the first people to be affected by it. Just have a look at this video from the Daily Express.
Responsibility Act 2011, because you've already been warned under Section 143 not to turn it on. You've been warned twice, but you're taking it off. Sir, I'm not pushing you. I'm not pushing you. I'm not holding you. I'm not holding you, sir. We have a right to protest. We've always had a right to protest.
Wait.
It's normal. It's
I want my banner back. Where's my
You
banner?
brought in a rule on all just ban
I want
protest.
my banner back.
This is a free country.
Martina! Hey, you've broken it.
You have broken it.
You broke it.
You broke that.
Right. No.
Sir, you need to let go.
Well, I suppose you want everyone's silence. We have a right to protest. Oh, I hate the smug one. And no one has taken that away from you. Or even Steve himself. He was still entitled to stay there and protest, just without his giant speaker, that's all. Which, to be honest, may have actually ended up distracting a few drivers. I know that's a long shot, which unfortunately for me, I guess the same could also be said about going on a date with Amanda Holden. The article also says that under the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act, protests and noise have been redefined to make more unlikely the possibility of undue stress on the public. The new bill is believed to be a response to the likes of Insulate Britain and the Extinction Rebellion. And those two groups use tactics such as gluing themselves to roads and padlocking themselves to each other to blockade motorways. Deemed to be disruptive to the public, the government has enacted this new bill which prevents such behaviour from reoccurring. However, that bill also includes disruption caused by a single protest, such as that of Mr. Bray's. Well, do you know what? It'll be interesting to see just how this affects protests in the future, especially as soon as they get out of hand. Because when they do that, they kind of lose all meaning, in my opinion, and often just end up peeing people off, don't they? No, perhaps the government might finally turn their attention to these very ungrateful people in this video, because, we wouldn't want them feeling that they're trapped in a prison, would we? Anyway, subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.